Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. They're saying we have some rain coming in, probably not today, but over the next 2 or 3 days, which is good. It's gotten dry again, but we're expecting also a cool down. You know, the last week or two, we've had unseasonably warm weather, almost feeling like summer. Now they're saying, well, we're gonna do a little switcheroo on you, and you're gonna get some rain, and that'll bring some cold weather in. May even have our first freeze or nearly freezing overnight temperatures, at least possibly a frost. They're talking about, you know, mid to upper 30s in some areas. So we'll see. It's the Ozarks. You just stick around for a while and the weather will change. You know, a lot of us and online, a lot of you, a lot of the experts. I'm certainly not an expert. I'm just a, you know, guy that talks, a prognosticator, or whatever you want to call me. But some of the experts, especially, believe that we are very much nearing an economic collapse. I've been listening to folks like Peter Schiff, Robert Kiyosaki, many of these folks that certainly are in a much better position to understand these things are saying that we are probably weeks and at most maybe months away from an economic collapse, that it just seems inevitable at this point, regardless of what the mainstream narrative says, that, oh no, we're not even close to a recession. We've completely avoided a recession. Everything's on the uptick. We're doing great. I mean, it doesn't matter that we have more people, you know, on strike than ever before, and that employment is so high because people are now having to work 2 and 3 and 4 jobs just to stay alive, that, you know, 99% of the American people can't even afford a house right now. Those things don't matter. We're doing really good. You know, did you know that the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, you know, those reserves that we're supposed to have on hand in case some type of nationwide tragedy happens, you know, the same ones that Biden has been selling off at sometimes even to the Chinese to artificially keep inflation down. You know, that's, you know, selling the oil that we have in reserves to artificially keep the inflation down. We now have about 17-day supply. Meaning that if we just lived off of the reserves, we would have about 17 days left. That's the lowest it's been since the early 80s. Credit card delinquency rates right now in small banks. Now remember, this is small banks, and there's a reason I'm pointing that out, is the highest they've ever been on record. And I believe that the reason that we're seeing this, I don't think that this is just spontaneous. This is happening. I think this is part of the control. They want these small banks to collapse so that the big banks can consume them. We've watched that already happen this year, and you know, many believe that we will continue to see this. That there'll probably be more in the coming weeks and months of many smaller banks being just gobbled up by the big ones, because that's what they want. They want it to all be into the banking, to be in the hands of just a few big banks. And so that's going to keep happening. We're watching, you know, all these indicators. You know, look at the 10-year treasury bills right now. They are the highest they've been since about before the 2001 dot-com collapse. And that's another indicator that things aren't doing so good, that they're so high that it's going to push interest rates just over the edge. Mortgage rates are right around 8% right now, and they're predicting that they will probably reach about 9% by the end of this year. Another thing that's not very good: housing, debt, everything. It's all on the downward slide. So there's a lot of people thinking that may be the first straw that breaks the camel's back, is the economy. And that's very possible and likely, but there's also other things. You know, yesterday's video, I talked a lot about what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. The United States have announced this week, or at least a document from the Pentagon, calling out to Congress to give them some more money, because, well, we've sent so much of our weapons over to Ukraine that we've run out. This has been talked about for the last few months now, of different studies showing that we really don't have a lot of weapons. I've even seen studies saying that if we were in a full-scale World War III scenario, that we would have somewhere between 3 and 9 days of armaments to keep us going. And so the Pentagon is saying that we need to resupply, but we don't have the money to resupply. And so they're asking Congress for funding to resupply the weapons because the stores are so low from sending everything over to Ukraine. Just a few weeks ago, Poland said kind of a similar thing, saying that they're not going to be sending any more weapons over to Ukraine because they need to keep them all for themselves. They don't have enough to go around. And then this morning, Britain has said pretty much the same thing, that they've run out of weapons, and they're going to have to rethink this thing of sending stuff to Ukraine because they need more money to buy more weapons because they've run out of weapons to send to Ukraine. I want to point this out, that what we've watched happen between Russia and Ukraine is nowhere near on the level I think most people would agree to be considered a major World War scenario. And when you look at things like World War I and World War II, the amount of intense fighting that lasted for years in a very wide scale, broad locations, in comparison, it's not the same. And in a year's time, nearly NATO, I mean, the ones that produce and that gives as much as they do in NATO, which is the United States and then Britain, they've already run out. So you're telling me the United States, the big military industrial complex, is running out of arms, sending them to Ukraine in just over a year, almost 2. This is either not true, or America isn't quite as big and bad as militarily as we have said over the years. I mean, of course, you can go back to the Clinton and then the Obama administrations, where the continual downsizing of the military, I'm sure has affected this a whole lot. But the fact is that's pretty sad that we've run out of arms this quickly. Russia doesn't seem to be running out of anything too soon. I mean, they can produce lots and lots of stuff. They've always been known to be able to produce a lot of ammunition. So that's kind of a scary scenario. So I guess the question is are these the two options that we may see happening that causes us to be pushed over the edge? An economic collapse, or, some type of, major increase in conflict when it comes to the war. I would guess that those are two of the more likely scenarios. There's always those black swan events, though. A grid shutdown, some kind of terrorist attack, some type of event that happens that's kind of catches people off guard. This October 4th rumors could be part of it, but honestly, in my heart, my gut, it tells me that the October 4th will probably pass without any kind of hiccup. I could be wrong, and that's not a reason not to prepare. You should probably go out today and make sure you're stocked up on gasoline, that you've got enough. If you want to take a cell phone and wrap it in aluminum foil and put it in a metal box, the best way to do that, because there's a lot of misinformation. Microwaves, don't worry about microwaves. That's not going to help your cell phone. If you don't believe me, stick your cell phone in your microwave and then call it from another cell phone. And if it rings, it's not protected. The big thing with protecting electronics in like Faraday cages is layers. It's not just that it needs to be sealed off with some kind of metallic substance. It needs to be layers. So if you have a metal box, even if it's not a perfectly sealed metal box, but if it's a good metal box, say those little, I don't even know if you can still buy them. I think you can at places like Walmart, but the little metal file boxes, not a file cabinet, but a little file box that's metal, and it closes metal on metal, not a rubber gasket. If you had something like that, and then you got you a Tupperware type of container that you could put your electronics in that would fit inside that metal box, and then take those electronic items with cell phones and then wrap them in aluminum foil, stick them in the Tupperware container, and then put them in the metal box, you're going to greatly increase the level of protection so that there's layers. There needs to be a layer between the metal to discharge the electricity. So anyways, that's just a little side tip. Another thing, because I thought I'd throw some tips at you today. Gold and silver's kind of dropped right now. and it's probably a pretty good time to buy. So I would take notice of that. There are some places that are running really good sales on silver. I mean, it's, you know, $1.99 over spot. I saw, I think SD Bullion was running a sale. I don't know if it's still going on, but I saw it yesterday, where if you bought a roll of silver rounds, you would get a bunch of silver eagles at spot. So you're paying at spot prices. So there's some really good sales going on right now in the gold and silver world, and gold and silver are down right now. If you want a link of where to buy, there's one in the description below. It's one of the places that I use often when I purchase gold and silver. Guns and ammunition prices are about as low as I've seen them in many, many years. So you should probably take advantage of those and stock up. There's also a link in the description below that you can go to a company that sells them, you know, very good quality and about as cheap as you can find. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because historically speaking, this is kind of a trend. Just before things get a little crazy, certain prices of things that folks like you and I might be interested in kind of drop. If you go back and you look just before the whole pandemic crisis stuff, guns and ammo were down. You know, certain things were at a good price to buy. People weren't doing it. That's why they were down. They were trying to move the product because people weren't buying. Because why? Because they felt in a comfortable place. They felt like, well, everything's pretty good right now. I don't need to be focused on buying guns and ammo and gold and silver and beans and rice. I can take my extra money and we can go on a little vacation. You know, we can buy a little extra stuff. We can take another fishing trip, you know, things like that. And then all of a sudden something happens and people panic and they rush to buy all that stuff and the prices go up. You can go back through many different things, you know, 9/11, all this kind of stuff. You can see these prices spike because people go buy them. So the prices are low right now because people aren't running to buy these things. But there's a lot of indicators showing that we are on probably getting close to the edge of the next big thing happening. And so I would recommend, if you have the extra money, and I know a lot of you don't because the economy sucks. I just told you how bad the economy is. But the ones that can, I would take advantage of it and go out and stock up. Go out and, you know, buy a few cases of canned food, or you know, add to your water storage. Buy another water filter. You know, different things like that. Do you have adequate stuff for the winter coming on? Do you have good boots, good socks, a good jacket? And I'm not talking about one of them fancy ski jackets. I'm talking about something that you can move around in, that you can work on your property, you know, take care of the animals, and then also, if need be, go in defense mode. Can you do those things in those clothing? Man, the birds are going crazy. Do you have that kind of stuff? This is a problem with the Americans, modern people. Like I said, we see things only in the moment and not in the future. And things are going good, you know. The world seems to be okay right now, so I don't need to be focused so much on all the things that I actually need. I can focus on things that make me feel good, you know, personal enjoyment. That's actually the time that folks like you and I should take advantage. Take advantage of the moment. The prices are down just a little bit right now, some a little bit more, and stock up, because all the indicators are showing that we're probably not too far away from something pretty serious happening. I'm personally leaning towards some kind of financial thing, but it's all a crapshoot at this point. Folks, you need to be getting your houses in order and preparing yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.